Welcome to BhagavatSanga program. This is our Srimad Bhagavatam program where we read prayers of pure devotees. The current theme is prayers of King Chitraketu. These are very beautiful prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 16, verses 34 to 48. Today we have a very wonderful devotee, Shikha Mataji, who will be presenting these prayers and sharing her realizations. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So we will start with invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Shunvatam Swakatha Krishnah पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयन्तः स्तोह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सताम् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवत्या उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनातारणम् वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Thank you, devotees, for joining. So many senior devotees are here. I'm not qualified, but in devotees' presence, we all learn. So I'm getting an opportunity to learn with all of you. So thank you for joining. So I'm going to share my slide. So like Veena Mataji was saying that today we are going to talk about prayers of Chitraketu. And every time I present these prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam are so beautiful. And each one I've said, this is my favorite one, this is my favorite one. But the prayers of Chitraketu are really my favorite ones because we all can relate to this. So the run-off show for today is we are going to, I'm going to introduce you to King Chitraketu, what was happening in his life. Prabhupada has brilliant purpose on it and it flows so nicely. Then we are going to talk about what is the wisdom or knowledge which Maharaj Chitraketu got from Narad Muni and Muni Angira. Then our kids can also be our teachers, and prayers of Chitraketu actually are teaching how Chitraketu's son imparted that knowledge about self-realization to him. So we're going to talk in details about that as well. And then like the title of the today's things is prayers of Chitraketu, like what was once Maharaj Chitraketu realized it and saw Krishna face to face, what was his sentiments and what were his prayers? So this is what we are going to talk today. So just an introduction about Maharaj Chitraketu. So he was a very famous emperor and very, very successful king. And he was the king for the entire world. And they say that everything in his kingdom was so prosperous. There was no dearth of necessities of life, and earth was producing. And he was endowed with everything. He was magnanimous, he was youthful, high family, successful kingdom, complete in education, very wealthy, opulent. So all the things which we materially aspire for in our life, he had all of it. But something in our material life always brings anxiety. So there was anxiety in king's heart, and he had 10 million wives, and he was capable of producing children, but he did not have any son or any kids, and that was making him very anxious. And so during that anxiety, Angira Rishi actually visited the king, And Angira Rishi actually is son of Lord Brahma. He was born from Brahma's mind. And when Angira Rishi visited impromptu King Chitraketu's kingdom, like we talked about, king was very righteous, right? So he bowed down and he gave all the due respect. He touched the lotus feet, and he actually sat at the lotus feet of Angira Rishi, like any just king should do. And then King was sitting at his feet, and Angira Rishi, though he knew everything, but he asked that question: is everything okay in your kingdom? Are your prospects okay? Is your family okay? And then he said that there is something which is bothering you, and it feels like you are not happy, and your face seems to be pale and in anxiety. So King knew that Angira Rishi knows a lot, and then King actually requested for a favor. And he talked how Angira Muni is very full of austerity, knowledge, and he is embodiment of uh, of wisdom and knowledge. And then he requested for a son from Rishi Angira. And then Rishi Angira, when just like Munis and Rishis are, they try to keep everybody happy and elevate them. So they performed a yagna, and out of the oblations of the yagna, um, it it was given to their eldest queen, Kritya Dyuti, and then as a result of that, they had a son. And while Angira Muni finished the yagna and gave the oblations, he said some words of wisdom, which at that time king did not pay attention. And he said that you will have a son now, but that son actually will be a cause of both joy for you, but he would also be a cause of lamentation. And that's how Angira Muni left. But the king was so overwhelmed with joy that he's going to have a son. And at that point of time, he just cared to have a son, whether he's obedient or not, whether he's righteous, he didn't care. But he was just happy that he will have a son. So then the child was born, and like king is righteous, so he did all the religious ceremonies. He gave a lot of charity. So to invoke all the auspiciousness, they say that he actually donated 600 million cows. So did everything to keep the child happy, but the nature of material world is such that we cannot find happiness in these material things. So because king was very affectionate towards the son, and he also became very affectionate towards his oldest wife, so he started neglecting other wives. And the other wives, like he had 10 million wives, so other wives were lamenting, and they had a lot of envy. And out of envy, actually, they poisoned the son. And because the sun was poisoned, that became, like Angira Muni had said, the reason for lamentation for Maharaj Chitraketu. And he lost his senses. He was breathing heavily. So a lot of lamentation happening. Um, hmm. So when the son died, Angira Muni and Narad Muni, who are both offsprings of Lord Brahma, actually came. And like what the saints do, they come at the place and they give solace and they give the right wisdom based on what is happening in our life. And they gave some very important pieces of advice which are important for all of us. And what they said was that there is no reason for us to lament. And why there is no reason for us to lament is because these are all material things, and they are not permanent. It's not like they are mithya or unreal, but they are temporary. And lamenting is actually being in mode of ignorance, because these are temporary relationships. And then they talked about how we need to understand our spiritual identity of who we are, who is the Lord, what is our relationship to the Lord, and basically surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then we material and conditioned souls try to find happiness in material things like big kingdom, beautiful wives, successful careers, and all. But they actually talked about that true happiness is actually in providing devotional service to the Lord and in surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as they were doing, giving us all of this knowledge, um, the king was lamenting. He was trying to understand some. And then Lord Narada actually did two things here. One is he actually mystically revived the sun temporarily. And then he also gave a mantra and a method by which Chitraketu Maharaj can actually realize his spiritual identity. So that teaches us that how, no matter where we are and what point of time in life we are, we should always keep the company of sages, because they are the ones who would give us direction in life in every situation we are. So these were some pieces of knowledge from the saints. And then, like we were talking about, so because of the mystic power of Narad Muni, the soul re-entered the body, and Narad Muni actually said that because you died early, you have a choice. You can revive yourself, and you can live in this world with your parents and enjoy the kingdom. You are the prince. And at that point of time, the son, actually, the deceased son, who was temporarily in that body because of mystic power, gave few words of knowledge. And let's see what those were. So he said that which father and which mother are we talking about? And this is little son, like sometimes even our kids can teach us so much. So Chitraketu was not appeased by what Narad Muni was saying and Angira Muni was saying. So now it is his son who is giving this knowledge. And he said that our lives are like rivers. So like when the river is crossing, it touches so many different points, but it keeps moving. So same way our life is like a river where we meet different people, we build some relationships, and then those relationships go away. They are not permanent relationships, and we transmigrate from one body to another, and in each birth we have some relationships. So he's like, they are my father and mother of which life? I do not recognize them. And they talked about like how gold or wealth, which we have, even money, which we have, it crosses hands of different people. In the same way, these relationships which we have, they are changing and crossing hands. So that's one thing which he talked about. And then he talked about that how our bodily relationships are perishable, and the body by which we associate and make relationships, these relationships go away when the body dies. Once we die, even our relatives don't want to keep our body, and the relationship ends. So the body relationships are perishable. There is no point in lamenting for each of these. Then the next point which he talked about was that how we really need to focus on our eternal identity, which is imperishable. So we get so caught up in our bodily relationships and our bodily needs and all that, which is temporary, like a flow of river. But really where we should be focusing on in our life is looking at that eternal living entity which we have. And this living entity has no birth and no end. And that's why there is no cause for lamenting, because the son said, I was never your son. Which birth are you talking about? And really, we are eternal and imperishable. And we are so sublime that qualitatively we are like Krishna or Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in extremely small quantity. And that's why we get illusioned by external energy. So that's another thing which he talked about. And then he talked about how the super soul which is sitting in our heart is completely independent, and God is the cause for everything which is happening. And then the happiness and distress which we experience is because of our fruitive activities, but God is actually independent of all of it, is because he does not have a material body, and we are part and parcel. So similar knowledge which Muni Angira and Narad Muni had provided. So the boy was also giving same kind of knowledge to Maharaj Chitraketu. And this time when he heard it from his son, that actually helped him to open his eyes, and that opened the eyes of his kingdom and his other wives also. So they all repented. All the envy went away. They did all the last riots of their son, and now Chitraketu was much more open to receiving the knowledge. And like we knew before, he was a righteous king. And now one more thing which Angira Muni said, and this is something which I think really touched me. And when Angira Muni came and started talking to the king, he said that when I had come, I wanted to impart you spiritual knowledge. And that's why sages come to visit people's houses so that they can impart that spiritual knowledge. So he said, when I came to you, I wanted to impart that spiritual knowledge, but you were so occupied with your material and conditioned stage that I could not impart you, and I gave you what you wanted, material things. So now he felt that okay, the king is now ready again for that spiritual wisdom. So that's when Narad Muni actually give Chitraketu Maharaj a mantra. And he said that if he performs this mantra with the rules and regulations which Narad Muni is saying, then he would be able to actually see Lord Ananta within a week. And Chitraketu Maharaj actually went into severe austerity. He did not drink any water, did not have food, and he completely immersed himself in the mantra which was given by Narad Muni and following all the rules and regulations. And then he actually saw Lord face to face. And that this story actually brings so much hope. And what Chitraketu Maharaj said, that as soon as he saw Lord face to face, all the contamination which he had in his heart completely got wiped away, and he felt like he's shining white light. And so Chitraketu Maharaj, when he saw Lord for the first time, he was speechless. He could not speak anything, and he started his prayers with saying that you know it all, and you are the super soul inside. You know it all. There is nothing which I can say. But then he started his prayers, which were really the prayers. But I wanted to bring all of us through this background because I think it has relevance to all our lives, because somewhere we are all family people, and we build those material relationships with our husbands and wives and children, and how we can come out of it respecting our children as well. So then when Maharaj Chitraketu saw Lord face to face, then he started actually glorifying the Lord, glorifying the Lord and glorifying the devotees. Because what is so special about these devotees and these prayers are that they glorify Lord impromptu from their heart, but they always remember their spiritual master also. So how he started his prayers is that, Lord, you are unconquerable. You are the Lord, primeval Lord, the absolute truth. But what is special is that your devotees can conquer you, and they are able to conquer you because of your causeless mercy. And your devotees, pure devotees, have full control on you, but in the same way you have full control on your devotees as well. And then he acknowledged the mercy which has been given by Angira Muni and Narad Muni in the disciplic succession, because of which he was able to see the Lord face to face, and how they guided him. And then he talked about the opulence of the Lord, and so many. what really resonated with me, we hear about this, right? Like the Lord is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of this, and how he's all opulent. But then sometimes when we have to make decisions in life, and I can only talk about myself, we forget about that. And then we all in Krishna consciousness have got this wonderful opportunity to serve the Lord, and we forget that, and we become servant of uh, of some mundane things, of some mundane people. But how fortunate we are, and how proud we should feel that we are actually being given a chance to serve the Lord directly. And they say that when we chant Hare Krishna mantra, it is not even like God will come. It is God right there with us. So we are actually experiencing Lord directly, and that is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada ji and all the disciplic succession. So then he talked about how even Brahma and Shiva are only small portions of the Lord, and how Lord is the Ishvara, and then he talked about that how even when we worship the demigods, those benedictions vanish. So truly establishing the supremacy of Lord Shri Krishna. And then, just like his son had talked about the eternity of the living beings and eternity of the Lord, he talked about how Lord, I mean, the material world gets annihilated, but Lord has no beginning and no end. He's the primeval Lord, cause of all causes, and the thing about God is that He is present even in the smallest atom possible, not only in the smallest atom, but even the most gigantic universe. So and in the total material energy. So he is present everywhere, but still gets unaffected by that. So he's eternal. And like Narad Muni had talked, like he will be able to see the Ananta view of the Lord. So here he talks about that how Lord is Ananta, and Anant Shesh holds all the universes on his feet like hoods, just like, and we know that even Earth is our universe. Earth is just one planet, and the universe is so big. But how Ananta, unlimited Lord, is that there are multiple. I mean, we can't even fathom how many universes are there, and these are like small mustard seeds. In fact, he talks about like how we can count seeds in one mustard bag, but we cannot count how many universes are there, and all of those are maintained and created by the Lord. And the beautiful thing which these prayers talked a lot about, I think that's the special aspect of this, is Bhagavad Dharma, and it is very relevant in today's world when there is so much fighting happening in name of religion, in name of the boundaries and all. And here they talk about Bhagavad Dharma, that our Bhagavad Dharma actually is providing transcendental loving service to Lord Shri Krishna, and that service has to be favorable service, and without any motive, fruitive motives, or any desire for gain, and no need for any physical speculation or philosophical speculation as well. So that's what the Bhagavad Dharma talked about. And then sometimes people say that, oh, I'm not Hindu, but I have some other religion. But what the prayers also talk about is that Bhagavad Dharma has no contradiction, and it's beyond the conception of any religion. And it talked about like how it is only about surrendering to the Lord, and carrying out our duties. And like, I think I touched on this topic about the contaminations are wiped out, and he talked about that how he had done so many sinful activities, and he had so many material attachments and lusty desires, and how just seeing the Lord even once, one glimpse, has removed all the contamination and all the sinful activities and reactions from his heart. And again he remembered his Guru Narad Muni, who had predicted all this is going to happen, and he thanked the training which Narad Muni provided also. And Lord is the super soul who knows everything, and that's how he was ending his prayer. And he said, Lord, you are the super soul, you know everything in everybody's heart present there. And as soon as we see you, we are actually speechless. So these were in a nutshell the prayers of Chitraketu, and then we see how a successful king, just as a summary, a successful king who has all material prosperities got entangled in desire, and that desire, even that desire which got fulfilled, became the reason for lamentation. And then that lamentation, whatever is happening in our life is good, and we have to be thankful, because that lamentation was the trigger point for the spiritual leaders to impart knowledge, and that opened his spiritual path. Also, one other lesson from Maharaj Chitraketu's prayers is, we all, in that moment of lamentation, and once he got the right knowledge, he abided by that knowledge and the instructions, and he followed those 100%. And that's how he could actually see Lord face to face. So thank you, Mataji, for giving me this opportunity, and please bless me that these prayers and these realizations actually touch my heart, and I learn from these prayers, and it becomes part of my life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. It's always so amazing how you connect us so well to the prayers, how you share your realizations. So wonderful to hear. A beautiful presentation, Mataji. You structured it so well. You broke it down with the pastimes of King Chitraketu, and then the lessons from the sages and from the sun, and finally the prayers. Just 2-3 points I would like to highlight of how it's very important for us to associate with the sages, and how they come into our life. They come to our houses and then give us that spiritual knowledge. And if we are just focused on material things, then we won't really benefit from it. So we have to get that knowledge and impart it in our life. So that was beautiful. And you nicely connected to us how we are connected with King Chitraketu, how he had material life and how he prayed, and how we also should do that. So that's a good lesson for us. And I really like the point that you said, when we are chanting, we are experiencing the Lord directly. We are so fortunate that we are in Krishna consciousness, and we should really appreciate it and take it really seriously. So that was great. Thank you, Mataji. That was a wonderful presentation. We really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. With that, devotees, thank you all for joining the BhagavatSanga program today. Very good to see all of you. We will have this program next week with another devotee presenting these prayers. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.